grocery store. Isn't it phenomenal? The grocery store, the modern invention that has made our lives so very convenient today. Outdated. It's a bit outdated now, though. You know, because why would you go to the grocery store when you have alternatives? Like, for example, rather than going to a shop to buy fruit and vegetables, you could get someone else to do that for you. Yeah, that's much more convenient. Better yet, why are you buying fruit and vegetables? To cook? Like some Neanderthal? Cooking? Why would... No. You could get a meal delivery service. That's right. You could get a meal delivery service. They can bring you the food pre-cooked already. Then you got to put it in the microwave and it's done. Ancient caveman work right there. Putting things in microwaves? Pressing start buttons so they go around and heat up? You know what that is? A waste of your precious time. A waste of your precious time. That's why they have Uber Eats. So you can get someone to bring you the food pre-cooked. You don't have to buy the vegetables. You don't have to cook the vegetables. You just ate them. And because you're a very important person with very little time for these silly things to do, that obviously is the ideal scenario. And the grocery stores out there, you know, your Aldis, your Lidls, your Spars, your Walmarts. Here in Australia, we've got Woolworths. We've got Coles. There are two big players. The Aldis come in, the disruptor as well, being like, hello, cheap-ass people. We're here for ya. I'm an Aldi shopper. I can say that. Yeah, much too occupied. Exactly, great balls of flame. Well, these grocery stores and their various acronyms, they've sat down at their various budget tables because that's all they can afford now. And they're like, what can we do to modernize? What can we do to modernize? People aren't standing for the inconvenience of having all of their various food needs and cooking needs and cleaning needs and other needs collected together in one store. Not convenient enough for people nowadays. We have to improve. What can we do to modernize for the modern individual who's too lazy to even go to a shop to purchase the items they need? What can we do? How can we modernize? And some clever entrepreneurs. Do you remember when entrepreneur was synonym for like that guy in school that dropped out and was smoking pot for like every day of the week? And then he made a PowerPoint slide at one point and he's like, I'm an entrepreneur. I'm an entrepreneur. I'm not going to school to study because I'm entrepreneur. Yeah, I have a sales job. What are you selling? My ideas. Yes, Frank. Remember that? Those people, they run our planet now. But yeah, so some of those went to the grocery stores and they were like, we have ideas. And the grocery stores were like, we're flat out of them. What should we do? How can we modernize? And they were like, you know what you need? Robots. You need robots. Because we're living in the future now, and the future is robots. And there's multiple forms that these robots have taken. Multiple forms. One of the forms that they've taken is they've replaced the price labels in certain grocery stores. Not too many of them around us, but there's certain price labels that are now digital. They're digital price labels. Yeah. Now, if you want to change the price of something from 80 cents to 85 cents, all you got to do is go onto the computer and change it, and bam! Like magic, it changes the price of the thing. I mean, you could just go with a texter, but why would you do that? You can do it digitally. That's only approximately 100,000 potential points of error in the entire store that could break at any one time. I don't see any flaws in that particular line of thinking. None at all. It's flawless. Oh, so convenient. Couldn't possibly go wrong. Other ways it's been implemented that I have seen are actual legit robots. They're like full robot things, and they're there to clean the store. There's a robot nearby in one of the grocery stores. I've spoken about this robot on stream before. Gregulus has a name. They put a little face on it. It's actually just like a giant hunk of plastic. I always thought robots were going to be metal, but, obviously capitalism, it's plastic. So it's a giant plastic one that put a little face on it and a little name tag that says Gregulus. And it is big. It's large. It's like this large. And it rolls around and it beeps as it rolls. Beep, beep. This little face. And you know what Gregulus does? This, state-of-the-art robotics. It's got its own little charging pod that it goes to. It charges up, and then it goes out and it roams around, beep, beep, goes around the whole grocery store, beep, beep, and it finds spills. That's what Gregulus does. It's like something is spilled, something is on the ground that's not meant to be on the ground. And do you know what Gregulus does when Gregulus finds a spill? Gregulus stands beside it and starts beeping louder because Gregulus can't clean it. All Gregulus can do is find it, and then it's stuck, and then it's beeping, and someone has to come and clean the spill that Gregulus has located, because that's what we needed state-of-the-art robot technology for. That's what we were missing, is we couldn't see when there was spills or when something was on the ground that wasn't meant to be. That's what we needed it for. So you got Gregulus sitting there going beep, 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 freaking the hell out because some teenagers took some Doritos off the aisle and put them on the floor and are laughing at the robot. Oh, look at it. It's confused. It doesn't know what to do. Look at the robot. I am bored now. I'm going to go look at TikTok. And then they go wander off, and then Gregulus is stuck there with an identity crisis, just like beep, 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 beep. The poor store owners that work there, they're like, oh, freaking hell. Pick up the Dorito bags, put them back up, and then Gregulus is like, I did my job. Yes. Back to my charging pod now. Important day of work done. Important day of work done. Good job, Gregulus. You're doing well, Gregulus. Gregulus is looking in the mirror at night being like, yes, you are important, Gregulus. You do a good job, Gregulus. You are appreciated, Gregulus. Gregulus has like a self-actualization routine. Has been really working on that self-improvement stuff. Anyway, that's another way that I've seen robots implemented. But the third way that I've seen robots implemented is the main way that I wanted to rant about today, which is, and I'm sure you guys have seen this, the self-checkout counters. The self-checkout counters. So, obviously, the entrepreneurs put down the dope for a second to pitch this to the leaders of the grocery chains, and they were like, you know what costs you money? They're like, everything. You know what you don't need to pay for? Yes. Charlene. You don't need to pay for Charlene. Charlene's sitting there being like, beep, beep. Had a nice day. Beep, beep. Oh, sounds lovely. Beep, 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 beep. This one doesn't have a price tag on it. Can you go get me another one that does? Thank you. Beep. Beep. That'll be $14.59. Say hello to the children. Oh, you don't have any. Sorry. Never. Say hi to your cats. Yep. Look, next. All right. Beep. That's Charlene. Charlene's been doing that for 7,000 years. She's one with the floor. If you actually look behind the counter, you'll see she's attached to the floor. In fact, she comes from the floor, like sprouts out of it. Never leaves. That's her spot. DJ Big Mikey B, by the way, thank you for joining. And Charlene is obviously costing the company too much money. Too much money. Do you know how much Charlene cost the company? Do you know how much? Minimum wage. That's too much. You know what minimum wage is? I don't know, but Charlene does. Charlene's intimately familiar with that amount of money because that's what she makes on a weekly basis, beeping things in. Too much money. Time to replace Charlene. Time to replace Charlene. So you know what the tech companies did? They're like, okay, we have 4 Charlenes. It's a very common name in Australia. We have 4 Charlenes. We'll get rid of the 4 Charlenes, and instead, we're going to install 8 of these robot self-checkout devices. Yeah, they're only $25,000 each, which is, Charlene's salary for the year. But they're $25,000 each, but they're an investment, because once we install them, then from now on, we never have to pay a Charlene again. And people can just check out using their own hands and like the little beepy devices on the machines. Now, can anyone see any flaw in this logic? Can anyone see any flaw in this logic? Could there possibly be a flaw in... No. No. So recent research has come out to say that it turns out these self-checkouts were not the great genius idea that they originally thought they were. Because there is not just one flaw, there are many flaws to this idea. Many flaws. Many flaws to the self-checkout idea. The first of which is that the problem they were installed to solve, they made worse. Before all of the customer service elements, before all of the security concerns, before the inconvenience, before everything else, they did not solve the original problem. These machines were some $25,000 each to install. And has anyone here ever, by any chance, worked with a machine before? Like a computer or a phone? Have you noticed that they break? Machines break. If you're thinking you're going to install this and it's going to work for the next 60 million years without any issues, somebody needs to spend a little bit of time working with technology, because that's not how technology works, especially if you got a whole bunch of random people coming through and fiddling with it. So these $25,000 machines need regular maintenance and are regularly broken. But beyond that, Charlene was sent to packing. We don't need you, Charlene. We have our self-checkout robots. But you know what the managers had to do? The managers had to show up to Charlene's rental apartment, because that's all she could afford on the minimum wage job. They came, knocked at the door sheepishly as she's packing her belongings to move out to the street, because she can't even afford that anymore because she's been fired. And they're being like, and they're like, Charlene, we were wrong. We need you back, Charlene. And now Charlene is standing beside the self-checkout service robots, because they break so often that people are constantly having to ask for assistance. Excuse me, it didn't scan it properly, and it's flashing, and it won't let me check out. And Charlene now comes with a little swipe card, swipes on it, and goes, yep, machine always does this. Beep, 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 beep. There you go. So Charlene is back. They didn't get rid of Charlene. They didn't get rid of Charlene's salary, but now they've got these expensive machines that they have to pay for that constantly break, and Charlene's job is to stand there and to swipe her little card so that people can continue checking out. She's the only one who knew the code for the bok choy. So that's what we've got there. And the guy that fixes them costs more than Charlene, indeed. Now, a few people in the chat figured out some of the other issues. And one of the other main issues is theft, as Snowtelling hinted about. So one of the main issues is that people in the past were having to jump through a few hoops to steal things. It was a bit harder to steal something. Now, a little bit easier. Just a little bit easier. They've done everything they can to make it harder to steal something. But if you're the one doing the checking out, and there's 8 people doing it at once, it's not hard to put down your black truffle, selling for $7,000 per kilo, and to mark it as brown onion. I mean, They're pretty similar. They're both plants. It was an honest mistake. The finger slipped. There are various things that are put in place, like cameras to check if someone's running out with something. There are also, the weighting devices that are checking the weight of the bag that you put there, so making sure that you put the right weight of something in. And yet, theft is at an all-time high. Why? Because it's almost impossible to keep track of everyone, and it's still really easy. Like I just mentioned, there's a quick system for you to trick both of those. Because if you do what I just said, neither of those will pick it up. And Charlene is busy with customer number 700, who's asking her to come to the machine because it's not working. Not only that, but Charlene is sick of this shit. And when someone's like, machine's not working, Charlene's not there checking, oh, is it not working because you are lying? Because you put 2 bags of Doritos instead of 1? No, Charlene's like, I'm going to get back at you, big company. I'm just going to swipe my card and pretend I can't see that second Dorito bag. So shoplifting is a really big issue. Customer service is another big issue because, unsurprisingly, people are feeling a little bit more detached from the big supermarkets. There's none of that human element. None of that human element. When you're going to the counter and, the lady who's beep, beep, Charlene's beeping through your various groceries, looks at your little baby. Oh, that's a cute little baby. You're like, no, that's my father. Whatever it is, there is that human element happening there. There's that human element. And that's just not the case with the machines. And you'd be like, yeah, but I go to the grocery stores to get my shit and get out. Like, I don't care about the human element. Correct. Most of us don't care about the human element. But what happens when you have zero care about the human element? And what you're dealing with is a giant conglomerate. You don't feel so bad. You don't feel so bad when the machine glitches out and charges you 20 cents for something you should be paying $20 for. That's all right. The grocery store can absorb that cost. You don't feel so bad when you went to go measure the weight of the onions and you didn't put the onions on fast enough, so it only scanned in the weight of 1 of them instead of 7. You're like, oh, they can absorb the cost. You don't feel so bad when you notice someone else walking out with a ciggy pack. You're like, it's all right. They can absorb the cost. They probably need it. It's been a stressful day, right? So that's where it comes down. People are feeling less and less obligation towards these stores, so they're making more of a mess in the aisles. They're treating the staff, Gregorless the robot, with disrespect, and the shoplifting has gone up, and people are not really feeling that remorse about it. That feeling of like ethical, moral guilt is not there as much, because they're like, it's a giant conglomerate. They don't even care about people anyway. Look what they did. Look what they did to Charlene. Look what they did to Charlene. It's funny though, because it's legit. They're starting to uninstall these devices and replace them with people again. Can you imagine? Years ago, you bought chicken nuggets at a Wendy's, ordered 8. The guy was like, I gave you 20. I hate this job. That's really cute. That is really, really cute. And your go-to place back when you had a metabolism and money. And little money. Yeah. Yeah, so that might be why they've jacked up prices. Who knows? And that's just the start of this. Overengineered items. Have you noticed that the struggle recently has been that people just don't know when to stop. When something is not broken, the previous kind of catchphrase was, if it's not broken, don't fix it. The current catchphrase is, if it's not broken, not good enough, put some internet in it. Everything is so over-engineered now, because I suppose there's so many Franks who've dropped out of school to fuel their pot addiction and become entrepreneurs that they're all going around trying to innovate and over-engineer things. Do you guys remember when there was this massive boom of pacers? They're like pencils, except rather than being a pencil, they're like this little plastic hollow tube, and you put a thin piece of lead into it, and you can replace it when it runs out. A pacer. So you would put the lead in, you would screw the top back on, and you would use it just like a pencil. Did any of you guys experience this? Pacers, mechanical pencils. Yeah. Daughter of Q had a pacer. Yeah, Great Balls of Lint. Okay, maybe it's called mechanical pencil globally, so I'll refer to it as a mechanical pencil. So mechanical pencils had this big boom when I was in primary school. Obviously, nowadays, kids use computers and TikTok. But back in the day, when people used pencils, pacers and mechanical pencils had a big boom. Everyone was out there in their cute little stationery stores buying their mechanical pencils, buying the separate pack of leads. And for some time, rather than using pencils, people were using pacers or mechanical pencils. And the difference in price was significant. It was significant because you could get a pack of 20 pencils for $2. I know, back when things didn't cost an arm and a leg. They only cost a finger. Now, the pencils were $2. The pacers or the mechanical pencils were $2 for the plastic, and then, $2 separately for the lead. They were more expensive. But they turned out to be significantly more expensive because these mechanical pencils were, for want of a better word, a pain in the ass. They were a buttock pain. They caused buttock injury, buttock strain, buttock exhaustion. The lead would get stuck in the mechanical pencil. You'd have to throw the whole thing out because you couldn't get it out. You were there fiddling with it. The lead would break when you put it in there. Now there's little bits of lead floating around in there. It wasn't one nice piece of lead. You'd have like the little packet of lead. It would open up in your pencil case and it's going everywhere. And it's now like drawing on everything, and all of the bits of lead are broken. And then you're trying to get it to go in there, and every time you write, the tip of it breaks, and you're like, ah! What is this? What is this? We already fixed the pencil problem. Someone invented pens. Why are we over-engineering this? We have a pencil. The pencil works. It's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Just use the pencil as intended. The Illuminati goat of destiny in the sky intended you to just use the pencil as is. And you went and over-engineered it. And thus, mechanical pencils were no longer in fashion. They lost their charm. And people moved on and went back to pencils. It happened to pretty much everybody. Everybody went through a phase and then went back to pencils because they were not worth the effort. They were not worth the effort. I agree. Don't put pencils near your buttock. That's some good advice right there. The lead would just push back in no matter how gently you used it. There's just so many issues with it. So many issues. Exactly. What is the deal with airline peanuts? What is the deal with pencils? I don't get on planes very often. So over-engineering is a very serious issue. It's happening more and more and more, from fridges with internet in them, because apparently that is necessary, to, your cooktop mixer can now also be used to make pasta, phone calls, and blow up balloons. I don't know. Why are we over-engineering things? Why is this a thing now? If something is not broken, why are we out there not fixing it, but making it such that it can break in 700 more ways? I don't know. Everything be digital. Everything be subscription-based. I mean, that's a rant all on its own. At the end of the day, I suppose it's trial and error. A lot of these things will fall by the wayside and will never be used again. because they were a stupid idea in the first place, and Frank has now made millions off it and is laughing his way to the pot dealer, while the grocery stores have to clean up his mess. Clean up an aisle, Frank. And all these things will fall away, and we'll be left with the few that actually did innovate and add value. The few things that really brought something new, something that changes the world for the better, something that we possibly could not have lived without beforehand. Something like Gregolus. Something like Gregolus.
Don't forget to hit the subscribe button and notification bell, because clicking things is fun. If you want to see the full versions of these Twitch streams, then you can on my channel, twitch.tv/MaryAmber. And if you want to catch VODs, if you've missed streams, then check out my Patreon, Ninja Club, patreon.com/MaryAmber.